guys, I'm here at Great Malvern today and I'm going to be checking out a course called the Gift of Dyslexia workshop. So having quit teaching, I really needed to think about what it is that I was going to do in my life, and even though tutoring is a really good way of earning a little bit of income on the side, I really needed to think about how I was going to make use of my skills in mainstream education. So I looked into this workshop and I've come here to see what it's all about. Hopefully I can get an interview with the directors and start documenting my journey on my life after teaching. I've just come back. It is now 8 o'clock and I've had a really full-on day. Today we learnt about the initial assessment procedure. I can't remember if that's what it's called exactly, but it's basically the procedure that you have to go through before you decide what type of activity is going to work best for the pupil. Or your client, and it was really good. We were doing a lot of role play and it was really interesting because the role play involved us, the exercise was about understanding what the mind's eye is and how we can move the mind's eye to imagine something from different angles. And one of the things that I found really interesting is that everybody can move their mind's eye to some degree, I think, some more so than others. And I found it really interesting that I could do that, that I could move my mind's eye to visualize a slice of cake on my hand from different angles. And it was really interesting to go through that procedure myself. And I really did learn a lot from that. I went out with dinner with my new peeps, so that was really nice because we all got to know each other, and I think that's really great because, you know, you will meet new people and make new friends, and everybody was really lovely. The environment was really relaxed. Richard and Margarita, the two directors that were leading the workshop, I felt that they were very clear, they were certainly very friendly and welcoming, and I felt I was able to fit right in. So that was all fantastic. Really looking forward to day 2 and doing more of the exercises. Really looking forward to making the models out of clay, which I know is coming up at some point very soon during the workshop. And yeah, just massively tired now. Feel like my brain is a bit fried, and I think I'm going to go and get some shut-eye. describe it. When I did the alignment, not the alignment, I did the orientation procedure, so I had to visualise my mind's eye going to the back of my head up here, and I felt that that was the right one for me. And when I did that, the only way I can describe it is, it literally felt like it was an opening of clarity. Like that's the only way I could describe it. It was like my focus was zooming in on what Richard was saying, and it was completely fixed there. And one of the things that I would normally do is I would, in the space of 5 minutes, I would have my imagination, I would daydream, I would go off into all these different places. Usually I'm imagining what the person is saying, so I find that it helps me to be a better listener. But if I'm tired, or if it's not a very interesting conversation, you know, I'm thinking about what happened yesterday, or what I'm going to have for dinner later. But I felt like when Richard was talking, my focus could not move even if it wanted to. And for that to happen, I then had an emotional reaction, which was I was incredibly scared that was going to be fixed there forever, and I wouldn't be able to daydream anymore, and my creativity that I needed to write books or do any of my other creative projects, like what's going to happen if that's going to get stuck there and I couldn't move it. And it was really interesting, and that Richard then sat me down and he was like, no, it's a figment of your imagination, you can move it whenever you want, and if you're holding it really tightly, then you're doing that, it's not happening to you. And when I heard that, I felt I could instantly relax, and it felt a lot better again. And but yeah, I never experienced clarity quite like that, and I have to say that moment was really profound for me.
It's an extraordinary experience all the way around for me, to find out things about myself and about the way my mind works that I have never known before. And I've been around quite a long time, and I thought I knew myself, and I don't. And it is quite scary. And I had a very similar experience to yourself, that when I wanted to release these anchors, they felt so heavy, and I could feel heat coming down. And it was a physical reaction to what I had put there in my imagination. And then I remembered what I had said when you were saying this. If she turns them into silk, they won't be so heavy and they won't pull down. But I couldn't remember what I had said when I was talking about your experience. Somebody had to remind me when it was my experience. I felt very distant from the whole thing. And then when she reminded me, I said, oh yes, and I turned them into little silk threads, and the weight lifted straight away in the most extraordinary manner. I didn't know I could do that. I am amazed and enthralled. I think it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
It's the end of day 2, and I'm even more knackered than I was yesterday. It's so much more intense than it was yesterday. The idea is that people that are dyslexic have a mind's eye that is moving, and this moving mind's eye is their way of coping with confusion and disorientation that they subsequently experience because of the confusion. And up until the point they go to school, that disorientation is useful for them to solve problems. But the minute that you apply disorientation to letters, I mean, looking at the back of an S doesn't really help a person to decode what it is. So at this point, you've got disorientation as a problem. And by training the person, by guiding them to fix their mind's eye to a place which is right above your head, about here, I don't know if you can see, then it allows them to see on the paper what their eyes see. And that was really interesting. Now, I didn't really know what to expect. I was very curious, and I'm not a dyslexic person, so I didn't really think that I would have any kind of reaction doing this procedure, but it was really interesting. It was amazing because I had a physical reaction. I felt this physical sensation of heaviness on my head to the point where I couldn't even move my neck. It was strange because I didn't expect that doing something imaginary would cause such a physical reaction, but it did, and that was interesting. And it was really good to learn about how imagination works, because that's not something that I've ever learned about before, and you kind of take that for granted. So I found that really, really useful. Now, as a teacher, I can say that we encourage children to use their imagination all the time. We ask them to write, we ask them to dramatize and role play, and we use our imaginations all the time. And we say, well, create a picture in your mind, and then you're going to describe that and write about that. And when somebody else reads your work, they should picture the exact same thing that you visualized when you started writing. The thing is, do we teach children how to use their imagination in the first place? How do you imagine something in the first place? And I felt today I understood what my imagination is a lot better having attended the workshop. And that's certainly something that I'm going to be taking with me and applying directly into my classroom and teaching practices. We used a lot of clay today. We went off into our pairs and we were guiding each other in how to make our mind's eye sit in this optimal orientation place over here. And we visualized anchor points that came to the top of our heads and to the side of our ears. And I felt that the group work went really smoothly. It was a very supportive group. I felt like we were in a very safe environment. When I read the book The Gift of Learning, and this is the book that started it all off for me, I read the procedure for how to do the orientation counselling and the perceptual ability assessment and things like that, and it was really straightforward. The script was there, everything was there, and I thought, this seems simple enough. How hard could this be? And I had read the book all the way through before I had come onto the course, and I felt confident that, you know, I knew what I was doing. And if I was to use this method with a child, say somebody that I was tutoring, for example, that I would be confident to be able to follow the steps. And what I found today was that just wasn't the case. Yes, I knew the theory. Yes, I'd read on the steps of the practice, but had I have done this with a child, I think I would have been caught completely unprepared for the reaction. I just didn't expect such an intense reaction to the method, and that really did catch me by surprise. So I'm really glad I came onto this course, because it's given me an insight and certainly an experience which is now a point of reference for me, because I know what it feels like. And because I know what it feels like, I can now make sure that I'm doing the right thing when I'm working with a child. So, I mean, I experienced headaches just immediately. My neck was stiff. I had this physical reaction, and then following the physical reaction, I had this emotional reaction of anxiety, and I didn't know how to get out of that, and I didn't know how to alleviate that. And, you know, Richard was amazing, because, you know, clearly he's been doing this for many, many years, and he's experienced, and he walked me through how to relax properly, and he walked me through the release procedure, which enabled me to then alleviate the pressure that I just felt in my head, that I just didn't understand where it came from. And I realised now that if I had tried this method without coming on the course, I would have been caught completely unprepared for how to deal with the reactions. So my advice is, if you have read the book and you're thinking of coming on the course, come on the course first and then work with children on these methods when you have some experience of it. And that's why I think this course is so great, because it allows you to do that. It gives you that reference in a safe environment where you have these really experienced people around you. I should highlight at this point that you really should be a facilitator before you embark on working with children. At least come on the first course, the gift of dyslexia, to kind of understand what it's all about and give you that experience. Because I think I truly would have been lost without it, and I'm glad I did come. I think I should say that you have to be a licensed facilitator to be able to work with children. You have to have a license, and you have to complete your facilitator training for you in order to get that license. So it is copyrighted and trademarked and everything, and I think it's important also for safety that you do complete the training fully before embarking on working with children, because if it's not done properly and carefully, then there can be some unwanted side effects. So, you know, I think I should make that clear at this point.
The focusing tools are, it's like if you imagine a child in a classroom who, and the teacher is saying to the child, I need you to pay attention. Yeah. And the child then asks the teacher, how? Yeah. How do I do that? There's nothing in teacher training that prepares a teacher, or indeed a parent, for, you know, for answering that question. You know, how do you pay attention? What do you do to your mind to prepare it in order that your mind will see what your eyes are seeing, or hear what your ears are hearing, in order that what's out there goes in accurately and fully. And that's what the Davis focusing tools do so well, because they're sort of simple, simple procedures that you can do in your own imagination in order to prepare your mind for learning, for accurate learning. Well, I think if you think about the totality of the Davis methods, you've got the focusing tools, you've also got what we call symbol mastery, which is a process of exploring each individual symbol, you know, so letter, punctuation marks, words, and so on, that you're encountering when in the reading process, and building a new relationship with each of those symbols. The way that we do that is quite different, perhaps, from some of the traditional assumptions that have been made about what reading teaching should be. Okay. Therefore, could you give us some examples? Yes. For example, a traditional assumption might be that phonic reading instruction, that grapheme, phoneme correlations, blending syllables, and so on, that they are at the root of reading, and they are the fundamental reading skill. Okay. We very much respect the role of phonics in the reading process, but we don't see phonics as central and fundamental to the reading process. So the fundamental building block for reading that we see is recognition. Okay. So it's being able to perceive accurately that a word is a sequence of letters that begins on the left and ends on the right. The reason why we know that to be more fundamental is because if you're a visual dyslexic and your perception of what's where in a word is distorted, so for example, the word is was and you're seeing it as saw, no phonic decoding strategy is going to help you unless or until you have resolved what's where, and you've got a clear relationship with each of those letters, you're perceiving them clearly and accurately, and you're seeing where they are. Therefore, processes involving building a relationship through letter names, using your experiential intelligence and your visual intelligence to make words, visualize them. Can you spell this word forwards and backwards? Can you go through the alphabet forwards and backwards? Are all key building blocks that you need before you can go into any process of phonic decoding of a word or investigating how words work on the page in any sort of way. Well, the process of training as a licensed facilitator is a series of 11 training modules that you can do over a year. So it can be sort of a year or a little bit longer. In total, you're probably looking at about 450 to 500 hours of training. So it's a substantial process, rooted very much in practice. So the only theory that we cover is theory that then helps you to become a better facilitator because you understand what you're doing. About half of the training time spent with us in short burst on-site modules, sort of 4 to 5 days in length. We will only ever work with a maximum of 6 students per trainer. So you're working very much under close observation to develop your skills, not only in delivering the content of the program, but also in developing the human qualities that are required to be an effective Davis facilitator. And that's a difficult one. It depends a little bit where you are in the country, how you put yourself out there, what you're willing to do in order to, and how effective you can be at getting the message out about what you do. Generally speaking, I suppose a Davis program being a 36-hour package of your time, essentially, most facilitators are probably charging between £1,500 and £2,000 roughly for that process. Some spreading that for their clients over up to a year, as appropriate. And other than that, it then probably depends. It's probably realistic to look to work with perhaps 20 to 25 clients per year. Whether you are working with that number will depend on your lifestyle. It will depend on how much time you have available. It will depend also on how effectively you can get your message out there, and can network. Well, the White-Eye book, as I call it, links into a free online course, which you can get from our website, whytyrannosaurusbutnotif.com. And you can simply sign up as a teacher or as a proactive parent, or just as somebody who's curious, and you'll then get 15 weekly installments, which are sort of simple and quick to read and just give you some a kind of a higher level of awareness of how dyslexic individuals think and learn, and gives you some things to try out in the classroom, and then some further reading if you're interested. So that kind of links in with the book. And we've also developed a workshop, which at the moment is a one-day workshop for teachers, again for teachers and proactive parents mainly. We're looking at different ways of delivering that workshop. At the moment, it's a sort of an on-site one-day workshop, but we're looking at the possibility of delivering it as a video course, potentially also as an evening class over a series of weekly sessions, in particular for parents wanting to find new strategies as to how to help their children with homework. And then, of course, all of that then spreads the word about the Davis methods and how effective and powerful they are, and then facilitators who are sort of or parents who are interested in finding a complete solution for their children to help them restructure their literacy from the ground up can then go to a licensed Davis facilitator for a full program. There's a big movement in the UK for what is commonly known as commonly called dyslexia-friendly teaching. And dyslexia-friendly teaching is great. It's a really important initiative. What I like more as a concept is dyslexia-inspired teaching. So we want to really move the educational profession into an arena where dyslexia is perceived as a learning and a thinking asset. And therefore, by tailoring strategies to the dyslexic thinking style, because dyslexics fundamentally are good picture thinkers, they think with ideas, with concepts, much more than just on the level of words. And the dyslexic mind craves meaning. Therefore, when teachers tailor their teaching for the dyslexic thinking style, that will tend to benefit all learners in the class. And we do have some research evidence suggesting that when this is done, particularly in the early years of teaching, that not only does the level of special educational needs referrals drop to close to zero, but also the level of gifted and talented referrals from those classes goes way up as well. There's quite a substantial body of research now into the effectiveness of the Davis methods. It can be easily accessed if you go to the main International Davis Methods website, which is www.dyslexia.com, and then look for the tab that says research. And then if you click on that, you can then very easily get into a kind of a wide range of studies that have been conducted around the world into the effectiveness of what we do. In simple terms, if we think in terms of word thinking and picture thinking, word thinking would be a human's ability to talk to themselves in their head, to have a little voice, a little internal monologue going on. Picture thinking would be often visual, but it's sensory thinking. It's thinking visually, thinking with the sense of feeling, with the sense of taste, smell, whatever it might be, but in your imagination. So when you're kind of rehearsing a script, you might be using word thinking. When you're figuring out how to get to a particular location and trying to picture the route, you might well be using picture thinking. Dyslexic intelligence is very much towards the picture thinking end of that thinking spectrum. So what it means essentially is that the dyslexic mind craves meaning, because it is meaning that we picture, essentially, in our mind. The dyslexic mind will be less able to memorize information without fully having understood it or having half understood it. So dyslexics are very much the learners with aha moments, light bulb moments in the class, whereas non-dyslexics will tend to get there through the hard graft of trying to put the words into their mind. And that's why dyslexia-friendly teaching is dyslexia-inspired teaching, which will benefit all learners, because dyslexia-inspired teaching is teaching that is geared towards showing everyone the meaning of what they're learning. So it's a much deeper level of instruction that you get than when you just give your learners a bunch of words and ask them to try to remember them.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. The course has been fantastic.
Great.
And, thank you very much
I'm
for
delighted.
agreeing to come onto my channel.
Pleasure. Thanks, Sabratha.
Thank you. Hi guys, it's now been 3 months since I've started my course. My last day was on December the 21st, and since then I've been using these techniques with a lot of children, and I have to say I have been seeing a lot of results. At the course I was fully resourced by them. We've got a lot of cool goodies to take home, so the most useful of which was the Gift of Dyslexia manual. And the manual has everything step by step, all the procedures and everything that you need to say. It's all included in here, which is really the most useful thing. I also got with it 2 koosh balls that you can use with your students to do fine-tune procedure. I got a alphabet strip like this, which you can use, and on the back you've got the lowercase letters there going backwards. Now, the reason why the letters are backwards is so that you're forced to look at each letter as a whole rather than using the alphabet song to say your alphabet. So that was really useful. And everything just looks really professional. Here is a punctuation, marks and styles little booklet that you can go through, where you've got all the punctuation on here that you're going to make make out of clay. Here I have a punctuation key. So this is when you're doing some dictionary work. You've got all the cards here that will help the children learn to use the punctuation key so they know how to pronounce their words properly. And you also have letter recognition cards. So just in case they don't know all of their sounds and their letters, you've got that there to use with them. So plenty of stuff that I was given for free as part of the fee that you pay to do the course. I got 2 packs of new plast modelling clay, which I've been putting, this is opened and empty now, but I've been putting this to good use using these with my students. I also got a reading signs mat, a Davis symbol mastery procedure for learning the words. And this was fantastic, a whole list of all the trigger words and their definitions ready to use with your students, set with all the definitions and example sentences that you need to do the trigger words list there. Some cutters to help you with modelling, making the concept models and working with the clay. And yeah, and I was provided with refreshments, water, paper, you name it, everything was provided for. And I just felt that I was really looked after on the course. And I thoroughly recommend that if you are thinking about working with children with dyslexia, ADHD, dyspraxia, dysgraphia or dyscalculia, or if you do know of anyone that has these conditions, then definitely I would recommend that you go to the first course at least to help you get an understanding of the method before you think about going on to becoming a Davis facilitator. It's certainly been a great journey for me. I'm already seeing a difference in my children. It's absolutely fantastic. Check out the link below, guys, and I am going to include a link to the Davis Learning Foundation website where you can find out more about this course and find out course fees and course dates in the future and in a location near you. I do hope this vlog has been useful if you are wondering whether the Davis course is for you, even if it is just the Gift of Dyslexia workshop, or whether you are thinking about becoming a fully fledged Davis facilitator. Do write your comments in the comment box below. I would love to know what it is. Any questions that you have that you're wondering about the course, do let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, do subscribe to my channel where you can follow my journey to becoming a fully fledged Davis facilitator, as well as find resources for teachers on the UPLR website. Until then, guys, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. And there are dogs barking. Just wait for that to stop.
They always bark, then you hear this. Then they stop.